All right, all right. Answers by guess. Video number 2, game by game previews. Hello there again, guess.
Hi.
Remember, guys, like us Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Always look for those hashtags. By Mageddon, Week 14 craziness, injuries all over. But Atlanta Falcons, Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, Indianapolis Colts, New Orleans Saints, and the Washington Commanders.
I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking, when we do these late night videos, like my eyes are barely
You're not the only one. Look.
like I'm awake, but you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. You would
I
not
love it.
know.
I love it. Right now, guys, it's 11:15 p.m. Eastern. All right. Philadelphia Eagles, New York Giants. Chance of rain, supposedly. But this Eagles team, I mean, Miles Sanders seems to be somebody that if I have him in a league, am I starting him this week, obviously, with everybody that's out? But how does this team work? I mean, A.J. Brown looked great last week. Hurts was unbelievable. This Giants team is going to play them well, though, I feel like. Are we having any caution when it comes to playing our Eagles players, again, against the Giants team that Barkley may be out, seeing Breida being picked up all over the place? How are we feeling as far as that running situation if Barkley is out? And then who the heck gets the ball? I think you had mentioned their wide receiver core isn't as bad as what people are thinking, but from those guys, who's getting it?
Well, I think I was talking about Green Bay. I was
Yeah,
talking about the
right.
wide receiver core,
My
but
bad.
you're right that the Giants they got a little couple pieces out there. As far as the Eagles in this one, I'm not shying away from any of them. They've been so good this year. Jalen Hurts, especially with their matchups and their preparation. I mean, they go into a game against Green Bay where they figured they might not be able to pass the ball so well. What they do, they ran all over Green Bay. Then they go to Tennessee the next week and they realize they probably aren't going to be able to run the ball very well. And they throw the ball all over Tennessee. And the Giants, like their glass slipper is breaking. Their Cinderella story is, withering away as we speak. They're still okay. Daniel Jones is still a top 10 quarterback. I think he's right there at number 10 or 11 in fantasy so far this year, and you wouldn't even believe it, but that's because he's been running. He's got no one to throw to, but somehow he's in the top 10. Quarterbacks have been terrible this year once you get outside of that top five. But I'm not scared of any of the Eagles. And as a matter of fact, is it Jake Stahl? Is
That
that
sounds
his
right.
first name? The dude that came in because Goddard's been out. He was very targeted, if I'm correct, last week. I mean, he was on the field and running a
Jack
ton around.
Stall.
Jack Stall, Stall.
Stole.
Um, so I don't know. I wouldn't play him because there's guys like Brevin Jordan who I take a shot on, and somebody else that we'll talk about in a few minutes, who I've already mentioned this year repeatedly. Rob could probably guess, and you know. I'm not shying away from the Eagles. I do think the Giants will play them tough because they're at home and it's a division game. But I kind of also feel like the Eagles will be able to do whatever they feel like they need to do. Um, they've got the pieces. Uh, you got to play the top two guys. Quez Watkins took a step back last week, but he was hot for 2 or 3 games before that. If you're in dire need, you could certainly do worse. I mentioned the tight end, and they didn't really need Mr. Wendell Smallwood Part Two last week with Kenneth Gainwell. But Miles Sanders, he'll be there if they need him. And you know who kills the Giants? It seems like all the time. As I fix my chair, Boston Scott. Boston Scott is a giant killer. I mean, he is somebody who I thought about um, for a guesstimator this week because he typically does really well against the Giants, and he's been very quiet this year. And the Eagles are opportunistic with finding the right guy to beat the team how they need to. So would not surprise me if Boston Scott vultures at least one from somebody or busts off something long. in this game. And as far as the Giants go, they have somebody who I also almost considered for a guesstimator, but he already was one this year, Isaiah Hodgins. Got his touchdown last week. Rob mentioned last week that he was close 2 weeks ago when he was the guesstimator. He's sort of taken over that number two, took it from Richie James a little bit. Richie James a little banged up. Ballinger came back. He's probably going to have a really nice week. The Eagles can't stop the tight end. It's the Cowboys. It's the Eagles. It's the Arizona Cardinals. Those are the teams you want to target with a tight end. So if he's out there in the waiver wire and you need a tight end, Daniel Ballinger probably is going to have a really good game this week. And I think Saquon's going to play because you can run on the Eagles. They've shorted up some with Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. I remembered his name this time.
I'm glad one of us did.
Yeah, so they've shorted up a little bit. They were pretty good against Derrick Henry last week. But I think Barkley realizes, like, we need this game. We at least need to prove something to ourselves. And we're going to be better if I can get out there and play. The coach hopes he could play. Saquon, I'm sure, wants to play. So Matt Breida definitely is worth a look if he does not. But I think Barkley plays. And I think if he does, you have to play him. I mean, you run the risk of an injury, but you don't want to put him down at home against the Eagles, who you can run on and who Barkley's going to be pumped for this one. So this should be a good game. I do think the Eagles will win. But it could be close. If I'm not mistaken, I remember this one. 9.5 points. Does that sound right?
Maybe that's 7 right now.
Oh, so maybe it was 6.5. Maybe it was upside down when I read
it. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Baltimore Ravens. Ravens. There you go.
It's so Raven.
It's so Raven at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lamar out first quarter, last game. Huntley's the guy. J.K. Dobbins practicing. You mentioned him. Gus Edwards, they're going to more than likely need. You mentioned on Tuesday, Drake. It's like, am I even considering starting any Raven, including the defense? Because defense has been playing pretty well lately against this Pittsburgh Steelers team who's slowly moving up. They're slowly winning games. Najee's healthy, got a bulk of the load. Everybody was on Warren. Warren's going to get the ball. Najee's still the guy. Deontay had double-digit targets last week, but banged up this week. Am I staying away from this game? I mean, with so many buys, can you stay away from games? Or are we okay with starting some of these guys?
I think it could be smart, too. There's a couple things I'm looking at. One, the Ravens over the past few weeks with Lamar have been stagnant. And while they didn't do much until that final drive that got them the win against Denver last week, Tyler Huntley, although he was playing the entire game, I don't think he's better than Lamar. But I think at this point in time, he could make the Ravens better. And the one thing that I'm looking at in this is Demarcus Robinson got a lot of targets, again, even with Huntley. So he's worth a look for sure. Prochet, much ado about nothing with him. It's like Duvernay disappeared. Mark Andrews would be fine. I can't recommend any of the running backs now. We're at the three-headed monster once again. But I do think that the Ravens are going to be able to move the ball better. For whatever reason, something was up with Lamar. He just wasn't doing well. Even the week you and I played, Lamar had like 2 points until like the fourth quarter. And then he wound up like 29 or something. He just was doing nothing. And the week before that, nothing. I know he got injured early last week, but up until that, nothing. And just didn't seem, he was very inaccurate. And I think that Huntley might be a little more accurate. He's not going to run as much. He will run. He's not a runner, but you get 30 or 40 yards on the ground with him on average each week. So I do think that they'll be able to move the ball better than the Ravens have been doing over the past few weeks. And TJ Watt is injured again. So he's right now going to play, but that's not a good thing because the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is somebody we were very high on, and he was the main reason. And if he misses any extra amount of snaps, that's going to push things for Baltimore even more so. George Pickens was very vocal about not getting the damn ball. So you know what's going to happen there. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. And Najee's been looking better. Fryermuth had a pretty decent game. Deontay is getting targets. He just can't catch a touchdown to save his life. They're mixing in and out third guys and fourth guys. You don't really want to mess with any of them at this point. But listen, I picked up Pickett in 2 leagues this week. And I had a few choices in 1 league, the ABG league, and didn't really have many choices. It was between him and Sam Darnold in our main league because Lamar got hurt. I didn't want Huntley. I didn't want to waste a waiver wire move. But anyways, I feel like, and I hope it's this week, obviously, because I'm starting Pickett. But I feel like because he's been, 12 to 16 points, I feel like he's going to have a 4-touchdown game soon. And if it's not this week, it might be next week or the week after. Like he's going to have an explosion game. He's yet to really have a really big, huge game. And I think that he's going to have one soon. If it's not this week, it's going to be after. This game sets up well for it because the Ravens are pretty good against the run, but they can't stop the pass. So if Deontay plays, I like the chances there. But I think not a 2-touchdown game, not a 3-touchdown. I think so. Mark it down. Here we are, week 14, recorded shows. I think that before the season's over, so we got week 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 5 weeks. One of those 5 weeks, Kenny Pickett will have a 4-touchdown game. And I want credit if it's 3 passing and 1 rushing.
I was just about to say I could see a 3 passing, 1 rushing, or even a 2 and 2.
Yeah,
if they get close.
I feel like it's going to happen because
Waveland's there.
He's been so close to just having a really good game. He hasn't had any, which is why he's sitting on waiver wires because his point totals have been trash. 15 points, and you're happy with him, and you're not happy because it's 15 points out of your quarterback. But one of these weeks, he's going to have a blow. So this game could be 16-10. But I also think this game could be a little more high scoring, the high 20s, because Pittsburgh's got the offensive weapons. I think Baltimore's better with Huntley now than with Lamar. Something was up with Lamar. He just was not playing well, inaccurate, throwing bad passes, not really, getting out of the pocket like we're used to with him. Something was up. So he was in his head or something. But I think that their defense broke down a little bit. In the back end, TJ Watt's banged up. I think that there could be some offense in this one. So I'm going to do a little juju and hope this is the week because I need Kenny Pickett to come through. I'm not 100% sure if it is this week, but it will be one of these next 5. He's going to have a huge game.
I mean, it goes well, man. Over-under's 36.5, so.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take that. That's too low.
I agree. I feel like that's kind of low, man.
I mean, 20-17. You're good.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Jacksonville at Tennessee. Both these teams coming off devastating losses. I mean, Jacksonville, especially to a Detroit team that just moved the ball all over them. Kirk seems to be the one. Good call on Ingram, by the way. I think you had even mentioned that he was going to get a touchdown. Are those really him, ETN, and Kirk? Am I okay with playing that? A lot of people picking up Trevor Lawrence this week against this Titans team that could be thrown against, but their front 7 seem to be getting better. Let's talk about Burks had the touchdown, but really didn't get the ball all that much. Again, a game that I don't even know who I would want to start from this game if I had to. What are you thinking?
I honestly don't think Trevor Lawrence plays. He's got the foot
Yeah,
injury that
I
when
thought
he
they were
got
saying that he was
hurt,
practicing today,
he
but I'll
was,
check.
but he is their franchise, um, and they're going nowhere. Yes, it's a division game, but why are we going to do that? And CJ Beathard is the backup, Mr. Beat Hard, and he, he's serviceable, not for fantasy, but he did okay for the Niners a couple times when he had to. Nobody expects them to win this game. They're not. I mean, I guess they could win the division still because this division's so bad. Like if they win this one, it's a full game that they catch up to Tennessee with. I'm just a little nervous with that. But Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. Like if you have to, then guess what? You have to because Jacksonville is going to have a tough time rushing against Tennessee. They're going to go into this with the same exact blueprint that they are going to go, that the Eagles did against Tennessee. You're going to pass. Now, obviously, Tennessee is going to shore that up. This is why the NFL is what it is and why it's week to week and why we can't look at the week before because Tennessee just got their butt kicked through the air. So, what is the number one thing that they focus on this week in passing or in practice? Pass defense. So, Jaguars are going to want to attack that, but you have to think that the Titans addressed that. Will it fix it? I don't know, but you got to think that they were like, okay, we can't get beat through the air here. But I'm playing those guys on Jacksonville. For Tennessee, my man, we mentioned him, another tight end. It's Chiggy time. It is so friggin' Chiggy time. This
A lot
guy,
of targets last week, man.
I'm telling you right now, he will be top 8 tight end next year. Top 8. Guaranteed.
Is that with Tannehill or with Willis?
Hopefully with Tannehill, but I don't think it matters. He's coming onto the scene. And I mentioned it a long time ago, like week 4, when I said Dolchich before he was a thing, and I said Trey McBride before Ertz got hurt, Likely before he even really got to play, and I threw all these guys out there. Okonkwo, Chiggy was in there. This is going to be the greatest tight end class in the history of the NFL. And I didn't even mention all of the guys. You got Ferguson in Dallas. Um, there's a rookie somewhere, a good one I'm missing. But anyways, he's going to head it. He's going to top 8 next year for him. So I see it. It's going to happen. They need pass catchers. No Traylon Burks. He was who I wanted to go with a guesstimator, but I didn't want to double dip because we already had Chiggy as a guesstimator this year. And guesstimator, again, is not always somebody who you want this week, though they could be, though they are this week once we get to our guesstimator for week 14. But it's a guy who you want to put on your radar because sooner or later they're going to be the guy. And a couple of them come through, and I think Chiggy is right there. So it's Robert Woods, it's Chiggy. That's about it this week. And Derrick Henry, Dontrell Hilliard, if you really have to.
It's funny. I'm actually starting the Titans defense this week, and I think you're right. I think they shore up the pass. Their rush defense is good enough. The Jags, to me, they could move the ball, but you're right. With Trevor Lawrence out or potentially being out again, he did practice today. They're going to see how he feels. I think that changes that dynamic. Beathard is good, but they're going to try to move the ball through ETN. And if they can't get that run game going, there's no play action. How do you move the ball to be able to go against this Tennessee? Who that just all they're going to do then? They're going to use Derrick Henry. I feel like so.
Right.
Chiggy's going to see it.
And I will say this: that you nailed it. Like they are going to want to go through ETN. So if you are somebody who had been starting ETN and he's been doing just fine, and then you played him last week and you were unhappy, and you planning on benching him this week for a lesser, I would highly reconsider that because I do think that he will be involved. I think he's going to catch a lot of passes because that is how you're going to be able to get past Tennessee with passing to the running back. So you probably might see Agnew a little more involved. Maybe you see Hasty, who did nothing last week. Probably won't do much again, but ETN's going to get some good reception totals this week. Take a look at his props, see if his total number of receptions is available. If it's anything like a 2.5 or a 3.5, I think I would take that.
All right, let's go on to the final one here. Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are bad, but they always play the Chiefs well, at least in my opinion. I feel like they're always in competition, and they're home, exactly, in Mile High. Kansas City coming off a tough loss against Joe Burrow. Pacheco is pretty good, but I like the way they use McKinnon. They actually rushed the ball with McKinnon, and he was getting pretty big chunks of yards last week against the Bengals. Do we see that same type of concept between these two running backs? Are they both viable starts this week? Obviously, the wide receiver core, they had two big plays. They went right back to back. He dropped one MVS. He caught the next one. Should have had a touchdown this game too. Can we see that happening as well? And I mean, Kelsey didn't have a great game, but this seems like this would be a Kelsey type game. On the flip side, Sutton out. Yep. I don't even know what else to say. I'm not starting any Broncos, but am I crazy to want to start the defense on a game that possibly could be close?
I would not start the Denver defense. However, I did take the Denver Broncos last week against Baltimore because, like I said, I just saw Baltimore was trending in a poor direction. Their offense was doing nothing. Denver defense is good enough. The game would be played somewhere around 16 points. And they were crazy. I think I had them plus 10 because they were 9.5. I bought it up to 10. They lost by 1. They should have won last week. It'll be a little bit tougher this week, obviously, with Kansas City. But, the Denver Bronco defense is good. It is Mile High. But it's Patrick Mahomes. He's playing like an MVP. They will probably, as of right now, give him the award over Hurts. I'm not sure if that's right. I think it's so close that it really doesn't matter, though. Because in my mind, MVP is most valuable player. If you took this guy off the team, how bad is that team? It's almost like WAR in baseball, wins over above replacement or whatever, which some people think is a bogus stat. But the stat is basically, if you're not in the game, how good does your team do? That's how I look at the MVP. That's the way it should be. I think that what's going to happen is Mahomes is going to be the MVP. If it were to end right now, and Hurts would be the offensive player of the year. That's what it'd be.
You have to have Justin Jefferson in that conversation. At least in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. Quarterbacks always get the love. You take Justin Jefferson off of the Vikings, they're a 5-7 team, just like the Detroit Lions. They could score the ball and stuff like that. Justin, at least in my opinion, I think Justin Jefferson has to be up there.
He won't win because he's not a quarterback.
I know, but that sucks that he's not.
I know. But
he's putting up Randy Moss numbers, bro.
But when you have a quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, and then you have Jalen Hurts, who everybody wrote off, even myself, I didn't think Philly wanted him. But it's a new coaching staff. They figured out a way to make it work, and it's working. I think that because of he could score on the ground. He could score through the air. That's why I think he's going to be the offensive player. But I'm not disagreeing. I mean, I said in the beginning of the year, Justin Jefferson was going to be number one receiver. Got lucky with Kupp getting hurt. But, he's there. He'll be in the offensive player of the year running. But I think that's how it's going to go. They're going to be like, okay, Mahomes, you're the MVP because you can throw behind the back and between the legs.
Kobe.
And we'll give Hurts the offensive player of the year. But anyway, so I think, I picked up Tony in the ABG league, but I don't think I use him. I think I'm just sort of just grabbing him, and I might end up dropping him for somebody else. I got him in the flex right now, but I don't really like it. He's banged up. He's their third wide receiver at best. Could even be their fourth or fifth. Um, and that's also behind Kelsey, so that bumps him down to fifth or sixth. Plus, I got the two running backs, like you mentioned. I'm fine playing McKinnon. Obviously, play Pacheco. Juju, I like once again. MVS is a fine play. And for the Broncos, I think Jerry Jeudy and Dulcich is about all you can do. Maybe Latavius Murray. I'm not worried about Mike Boone or Marlon Mack. But Latavius Murray is a good one. It's so bad how this team is so bad. I don't understand. I don't get it.
I keep on hoping every single week that it's like, all right, no, Denver's going to get out of it. You know what? Russell Wilson's going to show us the Russell Wilson of old, and he's going to light it up and so on. And then every week I'm just like, what's happening here?
How did the coaches still have a job? How does the offensive coordinator still have a job? How does Baker Mayfield come in with less than 48 hours before the game time and do what he did with players he's never thrown a ball to? Russell Wilson has an entire offseason and can't even get balls to better players. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Dulcich. Baker's throwing to Boog Powell and Tutu Atwell. These guys should have a YouTube show. Welcome so crazy, welcome to Tutu and Boog. Oh, BTW. We need 3 or 4 more people on the t-shirt list. So if you've been watching the video this long, all you have to do is make a post on the page, say, give me a t-shirt. I'll add you to the list. Once we get 10, we're running that random.
Give me... Wait, can I be a part of this?
Sure.
Yes! So you have to get 11 then.
11.
All right, guys. Remember, like us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Patreon. Always look for those hashtags ABGFF and answers by guess. We'll be back for number 3 in 2.43 Niner.
See ya.
Niner.